I've been growing tomatoes in my small backyard for some time now. I've been using these metal horse troughs to act as a raised garden. I think the warmth that they hold during the day help the root system create a better yield each season. In years past, I've had some pests get into my plants and eat a fair amount of my tomatoes. After putting out a night camera, I discovered my tomatoes were being consumed by roof rats. While most people don't want to admit that having rats in their backyard, in many places it's just unavoidable. Rats are everywhere, and some yards provide a better place for them to multiply. Even if you keep a clean and tidy area, you may still have rats in your yard. They're really prolific animals. I noticed I was losing tomatoes a couple of years ago, and I attempted to do something about it. I'm a live and let live kind of person, and so I'm not really big on killing anything, even rats. So I tried live trapping them and then relocating them. I got a few, but I didn't really get enough to make a dent. The tomato loss each season got worse. Finally, I did a little research and decided to put in a mild electric fence. Last season, the first year it was installed, the results were amazing. Before the fence, I was losing about 40% of my ripening tomatoes. After the fence was installed, my loss was zero. That's right, zero. In fact, I had a few leftover tomatoes at the end of the season, so I decided to do a little test. I turned the whole unit off one evening to see what would happen. That very first night, some of those leftover tomatoes were eaten. And when I turned the fence back on for the next few nights, I had no loss. I figured that each night the rat family sent its lowest rat on the totem pole to go test the fence. He must be the most nervous rat of the bunch. Since I've had such good luck with this electric fence, I figured I'd make this video and show you how to install your own. It's pretty simple. The system starts with a charger. The one I got is a solar version, so I don't have to run electricity to the unit, and I can put it anywhere that there's sunlight. The one I ended up buying off of Amazon was this one made by Gallagher. It has a lithium battery that makes the unit smaller and I think more dependable than the lead acid batteries. The way this works is the sun charges the battery and the battery electrifies the fence. Now I've been zapped by this fence and likely you will too once you install it. However, it's not terrible. It's meant for small animals, and I do know that you just need to be more careful around it when it's on. So what you'll do is you'll turn it off and you'll turn it on as you're working. The first thing you have to do is set up your unit to a ground. You do this by driving a metal rod into the ground and then simply attaching the unit to it by screwing it onto the rod. Obviously, you want to look for a spot near your fence and then position it to get the maximum amount of sun each day. I try to face it to the southern sky because I'm here in Northern California. That's going to get me the most light each day. Once you have your charger set up, now you have to run your fence line. The charger is built to keep small animals out of your garden, though I have heard some people are using it to keep deer out of their garden. But I don't have that problem, so I haven't tested it. The charger can electrify a fence that's up to 5 miles long. I'm not anywhere near that in terms of space that I need to cover. So for most backyard gardens, you can run almost as much wire as you want. The wire is pretty cheap and is sold in these massive rolls. The way to wire it up begins with getting these little yellow insulated plastic wire holders. You don't want the wire to touch the ground, so you have to keep it suspended. You can put a screw right through the middle of these plastic dealies or use nails that come with them. I chose to cut little redwood stakes and attach them to the stakes, and then that would cover the perimeter of my containers. I also wanted to put them as close as I could to the metal bin so that something small, like even a mouse, would not be able to get through without touching one of the wires. I wired it up on 2 levels so as not to be outsmarted by maybe a jumping rat. Once you get your plastic wire holders in place, it only takes a few minutes to string the wire. It's super easy. The wire is really easy to work with, and it's just mostly nylon twine with these tiny little wire threads that run through it, and that's what conducts the electricity. You just wrap it around and treat it like string and bring it on to the next one, and then you just tie it off when you're done. If you're like me and have separate bins or areas to cover, you're going to want to make these wired bridges. These will connect different areas safely. Here's how you make them. Start off by getting some wire. Just about any wire will do. You want to work with a length that's going to span the area that you want to link together. You'll also need some alligator clips, as we're going to attach these to each end of the bridge. Depending on what kind of tools you have access to, you'll want to use a pair of crimping pliers and/or some solder and a soldering gun. Before you start, put 2 pieces of shrink wrap tubing on the wire. That needs to go on before you attach the alligator clips. Strip the wire to about the length of the little tube area on the alligator clip. I'm using 10 gauge wire here, mostly because that's what I had laying around, and it fits well into the alligator clip. But you can use whatever wire you have. Using a pair of crimping pliers, you just squish the end of the alligator clip into the wire. Now that should hold it. I also like to make sure it's a bit more secure, and I add some solder. First, add a few drops of liquid flux to the joint. Then take your soldering gun and heat up the part where the clip meets the wire. Once it's hot, add the solder. It should melt right into the wire and bond the clip to the wire permanently. After the joint is cool, slide up the shrink tubing we put on earlier and slide it over the new joint. Just use a hairdryer or a heat gun to shrink the tubing around the joint and you're good to go. You don't have to build these bridges to connect areas. You can just simply tie some of the electric fence wire around one area and then tie it to another. It's just that the bridges are a little safer, more secure, and the connection is shielded so it won't short out and you won't accidentally walk into it. Once all your wire is installed and your bridges are made, all you need to do is fire it up. That's done by simply clipping the main power from the charger to any part of your fence and then turning the unit on. I also bought an electric fence tester to make sure everything was working. You simply hold the red button down, put it on a piece of the wire that's charged, and you'll see the lights go on, you know it's working. As far as maintenance goes, there's really not much to it. Occasionally, if you listen, you might hear a little ticking sound, and that means that there might be a short somewhere in the fence, which means the wire is somehow connected to the ground. It can be a leaf that falls and connects the fence to the ground. It's pretty easy to determine where it's happening because you can hear it, and at night maybe you can see a little spark where it's happening. It's still working, but it's just something that's really easy to fix. All you do is just sweep the leaf away and you're good to go. One thing I really like is this charger has a nice visible LED light, so you can see that it's on, since you'll always want to turn it off when you're working in your garden. So in my case, I have pets, and I usually turn it off during the day and just make sure to turn it on at night. So I can just glance out at night to see that indeed my fence is on. I'm really pleased with this fence, so you may want to try installing it yourself. I find it's a really good addition, and it keeps the rats and other varmints out of my garden. So give it a try. If you've had any experience putting an electric fence in your garden, leave the comments down below and let us know how it went. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and then hit the subscribe button, and I'll make more videos. Thanks for watching.